Ben Craughwell back on the Iron Mindset podcast.
Thanks for having me.
First 3-time guest.
Yeah.
By popular demand, man. No, straight up, like every time you and I sit down and have a conversation, I think it gets better and better. Like we've literally just spent an hour talking before we even turned on the camera. And I know this time I decided to do it a little bit different. I gave the audience a chance to ask you some questions, which we'll get to more towards the end. I have some things I want to ask you first.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for coming back on. I know you have a busy schedule. Better Man Project blowing up the last couple of months. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem at all. So here's actually first major question I want to ask you. So by the time this podcast rolls out, many of the people that are at home listening right now, we're going to be coming in, and it's pissing rain right now, but it's going to be coming into summer months. You are a man of action and typically have a plan ahead of time. So most of the lads now that are probably in the Better Man Project or people that follow your content who have been making gains since January, they've really doubled down. They've got the nutrition dialed in. They've got their training dialed in. But it's coming up to holiday season. It's going to be nights out, going to be big events, going to be parties, going to be a lot of holidays. If you're talking to your guys, you're on a coaching call, you're on a Zoom, you're having a group meeting, you're having a Q&A with the guys, and this question comes up: what strategies should I be adopting around summertime, longer days, sunny weather, more drinking, more holidays? What advice do you give them?
As in being in shape for it?
Yeah, like firstly to get there.
Yeah.
What is the strategy to get there and then to navigate it?
Okay, so if now there's two types of camps, obviously there's enhanced males and there's natural males. So majority of people listening to this are not going to be taking anabolics and stuff like that. So you're going to have to start a little bit earlier than the enhanced boys. Okay, you're probably, if you're about 20% fat to 25%, that's like the average male's kind of body comp. You're looking at probably about 16 to even 20 weeks of dieting down. Okay, I know it doesn't sound fun, but it is what it is. At the same time, you want to construct, though, a plan that is kind of happening in the background where you're not suffering the entire time. Because a lot of guys leave it to like 6 weeks out. Yeah. And they're even closer. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, that's why when I'm taking someone on, I work with people with at least 12 weeks. That's the minimum time I take someone on. So someone's getting married next month. I'm like, I can't help you with this. I'm just being completely honest. You've left this the last second. It's like leaving your homework to the night before. The quality is shit 9 times out of 10, you know, which a lot of people do, but it is what it is. Where to focus. Yeah. So starting off, calories as high as you can. Okay, have like use MyFitnessPal, something like that, to kind of give a rough estimate of where you want to have like a starting point. Start with more than you think you need. Okay, you'll be pulling the calories from the carbohydrates over time. Fats and protein, they don't really change unless you get bigger and stronger. Then your body requires more fats and more protein over time. 9 times out of 10 for one diet, though, they'll stay the same the entire time. You might lower fats a little bit. Okay, I won't get into the nitty gritty, that kind of shit. But start high. Okay, so it gives you areas to pull from along the way. You're not starting off with the end of the diet's calories, which 99% of the lads do that I talk with. They hop on a call with me. I'm like, okay, one guy who's there, he's 115 kilos. And I was like, he's on 2,000 calories.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, like, what the fuck? And he goes, yeah, I can't do it Monday to Friday. And the weekend rolls around, I kind of blow the lid off because I'm so hungry. And I'm like, you've created an unsustainable plan. So start way further back, 16, 20 weeks, okay? Create a sustainable plan that you can stick to. A high amount of calories where you can pull from, a minimum amount of work as well. Okay, so you want calories high and workload low. So that way it's easy to stick to, because everyone likes to eat food and not have to go to the gym 14 times a week. You know what I mean? So you want to start that way. And then gradually over time, you change. You can see what my hands are doing here on video. One hand's going down, one's going up. The calories will come down over time. The workload will gradually go up, but you want to gradually let that seesaw not go too quick, because then you just back yourself into a corner. Okay. And the analogy that I always use with guys, okay, is that you look at fat loss as having a loaded gun. I don't know if we've discussed this before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, about firing one bullet at a time. That's what I mean. So you want the fully loaded magazine at the start and fire one thing off at a time. And you check in with yourself once a week. So that way you can see which way it's going. And if your body weight's kind of coming down 0.5 to 1% per week, okay, that's a good range to be in. That's an adequate range. Any more than that, too extreme, you're probably losing muscle. Any less than that, you're going to look the exact same in like fucking 16 weeks. Barely any weight would have been lost.
So let's just say we have a guy, he's implemented this advice. He's coming into the summer, he's looking good, he's pretty lean, all right? Yeah. But like, as you mentioned, maybe he's gone to Portugal, Spain, Ibiza. You know, he's going to be across, he's going to be traveling for 2 weeks. Maybe not going to have the best amount of time to prep food. I know in the past you've used a really good analogy when it comes to food: good, better, and best. Yeah. And I think we can say the same idea for training. So if you've got a guy who's got a holiday coming up, what preparation would he have going into that? Would you have him like look at a gym? Would you have him look ahead at places to eat? What are the priorities?
Okay, so while they're actually on the trip here, okay, so they've gotten the results as well. We're kind of living in that realm now, okay? So the goal is to maintain. So it's the same at Christmas time, same at summertime. You want to be able to enjoy yourself, indulge a little bit, have a bit of fun, but not fuck everything up after weeks of hard work. You know what I mean? Or consistent work, I should say. It shouldn't be hard. It should be consistent. What I do, I actually have a protocol with the guys that I work with where what I get them to do is I get them to have 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
Okay. They say you're going away for 7 days. You're going to fucking Marbella, whatever it is, for 7 days. I go for 2 meals. Okay. Snacking throughout the day, completely avoid that. Because again, if you're having a little bit of Doritos here and whatever the fuck, handful of chocolate covered almonds, whatever it is that we deem healthy, the calories rack up, man. If you're grazing like a cattle all day, you're going to pile on a lot of weight and fuck things up really quick. Limit it to 2 meals. Okay. You can eyeball the meals, but I recommend just kind of skipping carbs for breakfast. Go for like protein and fat. It's very hard to overeat them.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not some sort of bro sciencey thing. It's just we're far more likely to eat a shitload of carbohydrates and fats versus a shitload of like lean protein and a little bit of fats. You know what I mean? Then your last meal of the day, if it's 1 meal, you can pretty much have fun. Whatever it is that we can, have a margarita pizza, no problem at all. You know what I mean? So 2 meals a day. Obviously, I've gotten in shape first. Plenty of water throughout the day. Keep steps high. 10,000 steps a day. Keep movement there. It's not just lying on your fucking back, baking in the sun. Move around a good bit. Swim in the pool, whatever it is. Get your activity levels up as best you can. That'll help big time because you burn up to 15% of your daily calories by just moving alone. So you burn more calories from walking around throughout the day than you actually do from your training session, which people they go to the gym and get lean. It's like, no. It's you actually burn more from moving around. So keep the steps high. Do your workout. I still recommend training while you're away. You got to move your body no matter
Completely
what. Okay,
agree, yeah.
Move it or lose it type of thing. I recommend doing at least 3 weight training sessions if you have access to a gym. Or when I was in Marbella myself, during the summer there, I had no gym. Or some little hotel gym with a fucking, you could bench press the treadmill. Maybe that's all you could really do. There was nothing there. It was lap pull down a treadmill. I was like, fuck this nerd shit. So I did prison style penitentiary. I did Jailhouse Strong. His was very good. And I learned a lot from him, Josh Bryant. And prison style kind of body weight training, 30-minute workouts 3 times during the week, maybe a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. Do it first thing in the morning, get it out of the way. So that way you're done for the day. You've eaten the biggest frog, or whatever quote that people use when it's like the annoying task to have to complete, you know? Now, if it's there's 2 types of travel. That's covering party time. You're trying to bridge, and ideally, say you're 90 kilos going away, you got down nice and lean, you're 90 kilos, try be 90 kilos coming back. That's a successful trip where you didn't fuck anything. You bridged through. You got to enjoy yourself, a bit of fun. You had a training stimulus, ate good food, moved around. You didn't fuck things up at all. So that's the same with Christmas. If you start Christmas and come out Christmas the same weight, boom, 99% of people end up gaining weight. Okay. Now, traveling for work's a different story. Okay. So a holiday, they're acute, they're a short period of time, maybe once or twice a year. It's not a big deal. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who travel quite a lot. So that's another, do you want me to touch on that kind of realm?
Yeah, please. Because we're going to have people listen that are going to find themselves, like, even think about, like, we'd have a lot of powerlifters that are, I know it's not quite work, but they're not going on a holiday. You know, we've got people going now shortly to Malta in June to represent the country. So even for those types of guys, like, they're going for something that isn't just party time. They still need to be regimented. They still need to be on plan. So I think there's absolutely value in that. So by all means. Yeah.
Well, for powerlifters leaning into a comp, don't change a thing in your diet. A huge thing a lot of people do is when they travel to, I'll get this one quick, but a lot of powerlifters who listen to this. But it's the same with kind of guys who are going abroad as well, because you want to be in the middle of a business meeting while you're traveling and shit your pants because you had some weird curry beforehand. You know what I'm trying to say? Strongman competitors, powerlifters, they do that. They
just
literally
like giving a presentation sweating.
They're just like, fuck's sake, I can't hold this in. Just fuck it. You know what I mean? We don't want that. So try and keep everything as dialed in as you can as normal, especially if it's a competition or it's travel. Like, your body doesn't give a shit if you're in a different country and you're like, oh, I need to indulge and have fun. Yes, you can do that while you're on holidays. Get the diarrhea out of the way then, have a bit of fun. If you need some weird shit, go for it. But if you need to perform for your meetings and work, whatever it is that you have, again, you need to be on the ball, not worrying about shitting yourself. Same with traveling for competing. You don't want to be on the platform and not so fun, you know? So keep food there. Some guys at an extreme level fly food out to where they're going. Now, that's very extreme. I'm not saying everyone has to do that. If you're in like a Western country, like Europe, North America, Australia, things like that, then happy days. You're more than likely going to be fine. Just go to your local Lidl or Aldi and just stick to the plan as best you can. I'd recommend staying in something where you can still prepare your own food, if possible. It's the same for both entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever it is, or powerlifters, exact same rhythm. Like, you can do the restaurant thing as well, but just try and go for foods that are similar to what you would normally eat so it doesn't drift you off too much. The second you start experimenting, leave the experimentation till the competition's done. Then have the risky foods. Because, man, people do weigh-ins and like, it's like, oh, let's fucking eat loads of sugary treats, all this bullshit. And it's like, all that does is stimulate your kidneys, make you piss more after just doing a water cut Okay, then you're peeing even more, and you're just I've done that. I did a weigh in. I went straight to McDonald's. I go, time to load up, bro. Had the worst meet of my life the next day. I went back on all my lifts. And I was like, what the fuck happened? And then I did another meet a year later. Kept everything healthy. The rhythm I was just saying, kept everything intact. Okay, by keeping it all intact, did the comp, and I had a 40 kilo jump in PR, and I felt unbelievable in the day, and had more in the tank on each lift. So it's don't fuck with it. Keep the flow in place as best you can if it's for competing or if it's for work. Okay.
You actually influenced me at a competition you and I competed at together. So we had both weighed in, 24-hour weigh-ins for Ab Series. I believe it was Ab Series 9. And you know, they were throwing us out this all this rehydration protocol, trying to give us food and bananas. And you're like, no. You had your 2 big bottles with the mixture in it of, I think it was dextrose, things like that. Probably I can't remember if it was cranberry
juice, orange juice. Yeah.
But I remember like that. You were jokingly saying like, "No, fuck that. I don't know if they're gonna like try and poison me or not." You know? So trying to get the edge. But like you had this like regimented routine of drink X amount, move this much, drink this amount, move this much. And it really highlighted to me, it's not so much how much weight you can cut, but how well you can refeed after it. That's going to dictate the performance. And that made me go and research a bit more. And I've actually seen, I believe, do you follow, is it Stan Efferdings?
Yeah, he's one of my coaches. Yeah.
So great guy, really, really smart for those sorts of things, up the vertical diet and all, you know.
Yeah.
But I've read over his rehydration, refeed protocol, and it's so good. It's like so detailed, and that really stood out to me. And I think I would completely agree. In most things, experimenting whether it's coming into a competition or going to somewhere where you have to perform, whether it's lifting weights or in a boardroom, if you need to be dialed in the room, either mentally or physically, it's probably not the right time to start experimenting. As you said, you're going to fucking shit yourself. I actually give you a funny one. I am probably one of the few people in the world that I went to America. I went to Orlando for 2 weeks in like October one year, right? So doing the parks, the roller coasters, all the fun stuff. But I ate out for 3 meals a day. So like IHOP for breakfast, would have like whatever was in the parks for lunch, and then going to like Cheesecake Factory for dinner. I came home 4 kilos lighter.
Okay, yeah.
I was doing like 30,000 steps a day. I kept up my training. But the biggest thing was, as you said, with the runs and things like that, I wasn't eating junk, but America's food quality is so much lower than here. I was literally just crapping everything out. Hope everyone is enjoying listening to this.
Well, it happens to people, man. Shit happens. Yeah.
Quite literally. So that really highlighted to me, you could try and take all the right steps. Like even I'd go to the shops, I'd buy some fruits, I'd have some like protein source, I'd have those in the morning, like some kind of dairy, some kind of fruit in the morning, just to get that in, some fiber, some protein, and then go and have our meals. But like no matter what I tried, I just couldn't stop the runs. So I think I left and I was like 92 kilos and I came home like 87.5 or something crazy. Like, so
diarrhea
it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the big picture thing is having that strategy going in, no matter what the event might be. And I think that's one of the values of having a good coach in your corner to kind of lay that plan out. As you mentioned, you've worked with guys that they're already starting like way too low on calories, probably way too high on activity. So this kind of brings me to the next question. We are probably at a time of year now where most people have gone to the gym, they've tried to make a difference. Maybe they tried to go it alone or they downloaded a plan and they've kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall. So they're probably looking at a coach. Now, the easy answer for you and I is like, just, reach out to us and we can have a chat. But let's encourage people to shop around. Let's encourage them to find the right fit for them, whether it's on what the services are or if it's the personality disposition of the coach. Some people prefer, like a prime example is, girls might want to work with girls, dudes might want to work with dudes. Totally understandable. So if I was to ask you, I'm looking for like 5 green flags in a coach. What is a good sign of a good coach that somebody could even just see from like their Instagram, their website? What would you be looking for?
If I was a client looking for a coach.
Exactly.
Okay, so is there a trail of success? Have they done it themselves or are they taking other people there? Huge. Okay. Are they punctual? That's a big one. Because again, you want to be waiting for your fucking plan to arrive 3 days late after you've got the thing. So everything's dialed in, ready to rock. 5 out of 5. The biggest one is if they've done it. That's because I don't care what I have to do. That's the number. Like again, when I haven't fucking, I don't know how much I paid in coaching. Probably in the last like 5 years, I probably paid 80 grand on coaching. Okay. In business, life, relationship, everything you can think of, like a lot. I invest a lot into it. I take it, it's like college nearly for me.
For sure.
More serious than that.
Well, I mean, I think you've said it before. It's, can they talk the talk, which is great. But you work with men that have walked the walk. They've been where you want to go, or they've taken other people there. And I think that is like an all-encompassing one. So is the person in a position you would want to be in, or have they demonstrated the knowledge or the know-how or the prowess to get other people there? So I think that's a massive one.
And connecting with them, that'd be number 3. So it's kind of like a lot of the coaches that I've had, I kind of like would look up to them. You know what I mean? Or look up to some people that they've worked with. That ties into the first thing. You know what I mean? So it's because, again, you have to like the person that you're hearing advice from. Otherwise, you think they're an asshole. They might have good advice, but you're gonna be like, fuck you, I don't like you. You're not gonna implement the thing, you know?
Like I can give you a couple of mine, because I agree with, you're pretty much nailing all the ones I said. So like walk the walk and talk the talk. So know what you're on about and actually be able to action it. As you mentioned, being punctual, being a professional. So understanding that as much as our roles are interpersonal, there's sometimes a little bit of a blurring of the lines, like we can have the crack together and all that. Where I'm still there to help you achieve something. So we're going to have that transparency. Then you mentioned as well, like that connection, actually being able to understand the person, I think is massive. I think a coach that is to a degree empathetic to the situation, because everyone's life is going to be a little different. I think that's a big one. And then I think it's a massive one. I think in all things, not just coaching, is a shared values, like prioritizing the same things. Like if I'm somebody who is trying to achieve a result physically, if I want to, if a priority for me, for better or for worse, is having visible 6-pack abs, I don't want to go to a coach that's telling me it doesn't matter if I'm 10% body fat or 30% body fat, because it matters to me.
Exactly.
And I have seen that there's a massive cohort of coaches online that are now tending to like move away from the idea that people want to achieve a physical result. I don't know if you've seen this, but we can get into that in a little while.
That'll be fun, yeah.
Here's a little bit of probably one that's probably more practical. I think people can identify strong coaches, good coaches, because like you mentioned, they have receipts, they have referrals, they have a proven product. What would you say are some red coaches and flags, or red flags in coaches? Jesus Christ.
I'd say not practicing what they preach is a huge thing. If they haven't done the thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there's like Boris Shaco is a phenomenal coach. He's not fucking like I'd beat him in a meet right now. You know what I'm saying? So
it's an old dude. Like.
Yeah, exactly. He's past his prime. So there's an Ed Cohen. I'd probably beat him in a comp right now, you know, but at the same time, he'd destroy me in his prime. So they don't have to currently be up to date, but they have, again, a paper trail of something that they've done. So red flags are saying, do they walk the walk what they're doing? Do I connect with them? It's just the mirror opposites of what I was saying the green flags are. Honestly, that's all it is. It's not like 5 trying to fit 5 things in just as a number, but those are the things that I make my decisions based on. If there's a trail there and proof, and I go, can I actually follow this guy as he's an effective guide? That's the kind of connection thing as well. So they're a good leader, good showing you where to go. They have a clear route. So I've invested in coaches before where some guys pay fucking $3,000 a month with some guys. I go on and it would be like the difference comparing it to other coaches would be the roadmap that I'd need to follow to get from where I am in pain to where I want to go, which is the dream result. So no matter if it's physique, better relationship, better sex, better whatever the fuck it is that you're trying to improve upon, you're going to an expert to solve that problem. If the roadmap isn't clear, or they're nearly unsure of it themselves, and that's again, like they need to be nearly certain in what they're doing. So if they have a high level of certainty, be like, bro, this fucking works, like shut the fuck up. And that's how I like to craft my coaching, which is what you were talking about blood work, which we'll touch on later on.
Yes.
That's why in my coaching, I've set it up in a way where it's physiologically impossible for you to not get a result other than you not doing the work. There's no possible way, because I look at bloods, I look at your training plan, I look at everything, your check-ins, weekly results, all this stuff. I narrow it down to going, okay, why is the result not happening here? I go, okay, you slipped up. Now, it might be accidental, it might be deliberate, whatever it is, that's fine. We'll cross one bridge at a time. But that's how I like it crafted, where it's like, it's foolproof. There's no possible way of failure unless you're actively not implementing the thing. Yeah.
And you know what? I think that kind of like, that's a phenomenal point. I would say this often to new coaches is that your clients will lie through accident, omission, ignorance. Maybe they just didn't know.
Yeah.
And it's usually when, like, for example, if somebody's like, well, I've been in a deficit for 8 weeks and I'm not losing any weight. It's like, you're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the point. Like, and that's something you need that transparency with as a coach to figure out, because I do think that's a big one. Sometimes people will. I don't know if you've encountered this. I've encountered this where clients almost feel like I'm going to give out to them, like I'm their teacher or a parent or something. Especially like younger clients, maybe because they've just come out of school or college. They're afraid of like ramifications. Like, no, we're going to navigate this together. We'll figure it out. But I would agree then that I think like that big red flag I've seen a lot of. I don't want to label like newer coaches, because again, some of them is just inexperience, but a lot of the time it's a lack of a vision or a plan or a very clear pathway to get the person from where they are to where they're going. I've actually seen this. I worked in commercial gyms for a very long time, and PTs would walk downstairs, personal trainers would walk in with their clients and say, what do you want to do today? It's like, that is not you're the leader here. This person has paid you to free up all this mental bandwidth, all this planning. You're meant to do that. You're meant to say, right, today is this, today is that. Or if you're not going to be with them in person, say, right, this is your 3-day plan. You do this on day 1, this on day 2, this on day 3. These are your calories. Like if you're somebody that like, you know, overindulges a little bit on a Saturday, we're going to make allowances here and we're going to taper it back in here. That's what your coach's job is. And I think it's when coaches don't have those plans or guides in place for their clients or their athletes or whatever it might be, I think that's a massive red flag. The other one then is, and while as much as I can appreciate, you know, staying in your wheelhouse, I do know some coaches that won't touch nutrition, for example, because they don't want to send somebody down like a bad pathway with their lack of knowledge. Great. But I think if you have been in the business for more than 2 or 3 years and you have not, like, you've shown it yourself, you've spent a lot of money to upskill, to get better, to learn more, to develop further, and that pays off down the road. But there's so many people that did their, 8-week, 12-week PT course, and that's as much as they know.
Yeah, the useless shite, man. I've done a couple of the courses, and it's like exercise to music and all this bollocks. And I was at like 100. I tore my hamstring in a PT course. Exercise to music at 120 kilos, just sweating like fuck. And I was like, how the fuck is this getting people leaner and in better shape and looking at me as like an authority? You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question?
Provide value. Yeah.
Have you done step aerobics?
I did it for. I had to learn how to teach it, and that's why I left the course. Right. I was like, "Fuck this shit! I don't care if I paid you. I'm done with this shit." Like, and this was I was like 19, and I was like, I'm not being a personal trainer, because my brain was like, "This is what a personal trainer is." It's like you're all wearing matching t-shirts and you're just there sweating in front of a crowd, looking like a fucking idiot, stepping up and down on a step. If you like to do that, that's perfectly fine. There's people that probably think what I do is fucking stupid.
Well, let's be honest here, right? Yeah. Going and doing step aerobics alone is not going to get people the body they are after.
No.
It just isn't.
No.
I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm sure it is. I've taught step aerobics in my day.
Yeah.
I really love to see you teach step aerobics, man. I'm not going to lie. That would like make my fucking day. But this is the point. With most gym classes, they are a template that is just to get your foot in the door and expose you to some movement. Because most people don't ever move. They don't, like, going upstairs is laborious for them. So fair enough. If step aerobics and like say yoga or Pilates or whatever is the only exercise you'll do, brilliant. You're a million times better off than the couch potato at home. But if you're looking at, say, somebody that's like got your build, or some of the girls out there that are really just getting after it, some great personal trainers out there you can see, or some of their athletes, some of the girls we have in powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit, some phenomenal athletes. If you're after those athletic physiques, those builds that like are eye-catching, that are head turning on the beach, look great in a bikini or a pair of shorts or whatever, you're not getting that doing step aerobics.
No.
So I think that's completely fair. And one of the major criticisms I would have of commercial gyms and of PT courses is this like appeal to like what people think fitness is and not what it actually is. So rather than bringing people in, let's say, showing them how to do squat, bench, deadlift, showing them how to do overhead presses and rows, showing them like a nice, like this, like I know you've done it. We talked previously about density training, how you can get a really effective workout in a short space of time. We've spoken about like conditioning work. It doesn't need to be this long, drawn out 45-minute thing. You can pack a lot of good quality work into much smaller spaces of time. I think that's something that hopefully over time, as we have more coaches like you speaking about these things online and coaches like myself, podcasts like this, we can maybe start pushing the needle in the direction where people are kind of making more productive choices with their training. But speaking of the general consensus on fitness and training, we've kind of seen a more topical thing that has come up over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years is, I'm sure I know you are very busy, probably don't spend a lot of time online like scrolling reels or anything like that, but there is a massive push against people that go to the gym as being labeled as fat phobic. So the insinuation here is that if you're somebody that actively tries to improve your physique, So you're trying to get better, you're trying to get leaner, build muscle, be healthier. It's not that you're doing that to be healthier. You're a fat phobic person. You have a phobia or a fear of being overweight or people that are overweight. You're basically creating like this shame culture around fat people, basically, or obesity.
You should have a fucking fear of being fat.
Have you seen this?
Well, yeah, I just kind of tune it out, to be honest with you. I'm very particular what information I take, and I don't watch the news, I don't read newspapers, I don't listen to any shit that isn't in my interest or within my control, because it just doesn't do anything other than make you feel anxious. Like that bank that closed down recently in America. It was like the big recession's coming. I actually got hit by that a little bit. I was like, oh fuck. I was like, give me a bit of anxiety. I can't do anything about that. So why the fuck do I care? So that's why I don't really indulge in it. But when I do see it, it's the same as like justifying having cigarettes, man. It's like if you're anti-cigarette, it's we know why it kills you. Having a fuckload of body fat, like that kills you too. So it's like you should be fat phobic. I don't think you should judge people for their decisions. That's on they do whatever the fuck you want. Go out and eat till you're dead. I don't care if that's what you want to do. But if the decision of trying to get into shape is something that's not in line with your goals, you shouldn't be judging people either as well. Like it goes both ways. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be judging people for being fat phobic, just like they shouldn't be judging you for being fat. You know what I mean? So it's
phobic.
Yeah, in a way. So it can go both ways, but I think that whether you like it or not, it's your body doesn't give a flying fuck how you feel about your body. It cares about, am I in shape? Am my blood's good? Am I healthy? Am I eating well? Is my energy high? My sex drive high? That all comes from being in shape.
Yep.
And when you want to go and, I don't know, start a family or look for a partner, whatever it is, you're looking for someone who's in shape, because your brain straight away goes, they're fertile, they're bangable, they're breedable, I can have a baby with this person. That's what that is, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
I like how fertile and bangable.
yeah, but if it's been professional to vulgar, but I was saying that it is true. That's totally what it is, though. You know, you're looking for a good mate to continue on your gene. That's why we're wired to see things like that. So it's again, it's just noise, man. I couldn't give a fuck. Just loud people that don't do anything.
So this is, and this is the point I'm making. Like, there's people I've seen. There's actually, do you know what? People I've met at some courses or workshops and things like that. Really nice people. Very, very, like, they could be very strong or very active, whatever. But like that, they are perpetrating the idea that you can be incredibly fit and healthy and also be, 35%, 40% body fat. I don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think just being lean automatically equals healthy, but I don't think things are necessarily mutually exclusive either. Like, I think you can be a little heavier and probably healthier than somebody who's a bit leaner and very engaged in unhealthy habits. Yeah. But I think as professionals in this field, the idea that we're trying to, take that off people, we'll just relieve that. No, you don't have to lose weight. You don't have to watch your food. You don't have to, exercise for results. You just do what makes you happy. I think these things can coexist. You can enjoy what you do and you can enjoy what you eat, but still also take accountability for what comes out the other side of that. And I think that's the problem we're starting to see in fitness. And I think it's a celebration of mediocrity. It's like, it's okay. Yeah. You can stay overweight, but you're going to the gym and you're happy and you're building social structure. So great. There is positives there, but I don't think that lessens the importance of looking after as you mentioned before, your blood work. Look at making sure you've good sleep habits, good nutrition habits, strong bonds and relationships, whether it's a partner, whether it's family or friends, and training productively, I would say ultimately is better, but the training, I would say, is probably like the least thing I'd worry about. But I would genuinely worry about people that say you can be healthy and extremely overweight and obese. Yeah.
I think it's just a culture of the world we're in now, whereas people want less and less responsibilities on their plate. That's why you look at women with OnlyFans. It's not that hard to just fucking ram whatever the hell up your body and then get paid €10 by 10,000 people and make a fuckload of money each month. You know what I mean? It's easy, not a lot of responsibility. Again, as we discussed before, women are having way less kids now. Over the 30-year-old marks that the norm now. Again, that's a big burden and responsibility. Having a kid, it's not a burden. It's the best thing ever. And I'm pro kid. Have a kid. If you're scared to have one or you're on the fence, it's the best thing ever. Jump into it. But even with the repeal thing, I'm not getting into anti-abortion, all that kind of shit, but I'm saying it's the same thing. Why was that pushed? Now, it was masked as a woman's movement, but why was that pushed? It's a responsibility thing. So you can easily go out and fuck loads and then get pregnant and go, oh shit, and then go, just let's nuke this shit every time. I think on average, it's like someone have like more than one abortion. It's like 50 or 60% of women that have had them have had more than one.
Wow.
So it's not like they learned their lesson. I know I'm butchering the statistics a little bit there, but it is a high number of people that get repeat ones. Now, I'm not judging you the position that you're in. If there's molestation or inbred or whatever the fuck it is, or incest, then fair enough, there's things like that. But it bleeds into that realm as well. Bit of a tangent here, but it all bleeds to that. Less and less responsibility, okay? You're a fat fuck, you're extremely out of shape, your bloods are fucked, you're going to keel over. But How many heavy people do you see in their 80s?
Very, very good point.
I've never seen, or even in their 60s or 70s. They don't exist. Why? They just cull themselves out and die off. It's the same type of thing. You see everyone that's like kind of like lean and in beast. I'm not saying bodybuilders shredded, like the shit that we do is very extreme. That's can be bad too. There's bodybuilders that drop dead at their 40. But again, it's just, I think it's the world could be a little bit more responsible, and it's just you being responsible for your own actions. That's all you can ever do. You can't manage other people's shit. You can only manage yourself.
Well, I completely agree. And I think it's like that. It's not a projection of our values or other people's values. It's not saying you have to adhere to what we say is health and we say is fitness. But also don't abdicate the fact that I think everybody, if they could take the pill now and be, 8% body fat and have the perfect hormone profile, they take it.
Absolutely.
They would not take it.
100%.
And it is, I think it's that. I think honestly, as the world gets more convenient, we have more, you and I can go downstairs now into the shop and probably meet our caloric needs for the next 5 days in one meal if we really just went hard. You know what I'm saying? Full sending like fucking bags of Doritos and packets of biscuits and all,
Easy.
That's how easy life is now. Like if you want to come over here from the south side, it's what? 20 minutes in the car. It's not like a hike anymore.
If I had to walk here, it'd be fucking a day or two.
Exactly, So the pilgrimage to Primal Productions, But this is the point. It's as there becomes less hardship placed on us, it's almost like the gym is voluntary hardship. You have to actively put yourself in fairly uncomfortable settings and positions to achieve something that I think deep down we want. We want to have the results of those hardships show. And it's the one that you can't buy a physique. You can't, no amount of implants or surgery is going to look as good as
even
hard
steroids, man. There's people that we know take steroids that aren't in good shape.
We've talked, exactly. We talked about it. And I've got a couple of points to bring up on that as we go. But I just, to like wrap this point up, is like, I think it's that. I think it's like, yes, getting in shape is tough.
Yeah.
No one's taking that away from me. And if it's too tough for you to do a certain exercise regime or plan, that's fine. You can find something that you enjoy. And yeah, in some cases, dieting can be tough. But like you said at the start, it's not about starting as low as you can on the calories and high as you can on the activity. It's you've got your 9mm, you take one shot, which it might be tracking calories, 3 sessions per week. And then it might become, being very rigid on your protein and fiber, which is the next bullet. And then it might be adding in an extra cardio session, adding in steps, maybe adding in a little bit of HIIT work in the gym once a week. And it slowly moderates itself. And it's giving yourself the breathing room to understand that your physique is not going to change in 6 weeks. It's probably going to take like 6 months to a year, depending on where your starting point is. Which and
compliance and things like that.
Precisely. And this is what, like, I've said it a million times on this podcast, say it on my Instagram page all the time. So many people, I think, would see the value in coaching if they just took the time like that to, like you said, you work with people for a minimum of 12 weeks, which gives people enough time to see, aha, this is what I'm paying for.
Exactly.
Everything sounds expensive when you know nothing about it. But when you give it, say, fuck it, I'm going to chance it. I'm going to hire Ben Craughwell here. I'm going to jump on the Better Man Project and see what happens. I would, and like you said, you can, if they follow the plan, you can guarantee the results. And I don't think many people can really grasp the value in that. Like that's there's no price tag you can put on that to make it sound not worth it. If you could, it's like saying this, it's not like playing the lottery. You can't, it's not like, oh, well, I put the money in and I might never win. It's like, no, if you work a band for 12 weeks, you will, if you follow all the steps, you will tangibly see a result starting from week 1, you get to week 12, you will see a difference. And I think that really can't be overstated. I think that needs to be said. If you're on the fence, get yourself a coach. Now,
just kind of one point on what you're saying there. Just
please.
It's one quote. I actually heard this in the drive over, tying into everything you're saying there. It's kind of cliche, but life, it's like if you do the hard things, you have an easy life, and if you do the easy things, you have a hard life.
Yes.
So that's kind of to wrap it all up. That's the truest thing. So if I go on like a rock up the mountains, I went up, it was snowing. Okay.
I saw.
And there was no one there. There was one other foot trail, and I was kind of like, "Where's this fucker?" And I was trying to follow the footsteps to see where he was. But that's what I was like, okay, so there's a bit of snow in the mountain, no one's here. There's a bit of rain on the mountain, no one's here. And I love it because it's empty and it's far more kind of relaxing, you can be more present, everything like that. But it just shows where there's a little bit of friction where things are a little bit harder, and then everyone just fucking bails. It's like, why? It's a bit of fucking rain, you're gonna die, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then when I go up there on my own, I don't know, it's tranquil, it's peaceful, there's no one there. I love that shit. It's your own mountain, you know what I mean? Like, get off my land type of thing. You know what it is? But it is, there's a, and it feels good when you're there. Because like now I'm doing the shit that other people can't. And it straight away shows when things get a little tough, it separates the pack. And it was me and one other guy. And I was like, where is this guy? I couldn't find him. It was like Sasquatch
shake
footprints.
His hand. I want to shake your hand.
Right? Literally that, man. But that's what I mean. It's not that it's hard to walk up a fucking hill with a vest on in snow. It's not that big a deal. Like, I'm not going to war.
But it's still voluntary.
I'm choosing to do it, and it's enjoyable. And when you're there, there's like a satisfaction when you look at the difference of no one there versus if the sun's out, insanely packed. So it's like, it's just crazy how they let something like that impact them, and it just again, it's harder to go up in the snow. That's what filters everyone out, you know?
Man, like...
So if you can do it, life is way easier. You get to the top 10 times fucking quicker if you just construct your life in a way of just leaning into doing hard things, and then everything else is easy. You know what I mean?
You're choosing your suffering one way or another.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I would much rather suffer from making sure I'm eating the right foods and like not gratifying myself with fucking cookies and ice cream and chocolate. And I'd rather suffer for, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, no matter how I feel going down. I'd rather suffer there than, you know, do nothing all day, fucking go to work, come home and watch Netflix, play some video games, eat my fucking Domino's pizza, and just lie in bed knowing I wasted another day where I could have achieved something. Yeah. And again, it's not that like going to the gym is going to fix all your problems. It's not that getting up in the morning, making your bed is going to fix all your problems. But it's 1% better than it was before you took that action. And I think that is like, it's one of these things where people tend to use this reductive point to like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym and suddenly I'm not going to be fucking depressed or whatever.
Yeah.
No one's saying that. But it's saying that you not going to the gym is worse than the version of you that does go.
Yeah, the likelihood of you having depression will be going up if you're avoiding a higher quality life. You know, because 9 times out of 10, a doctor, it's like psychotherapist, any of that in that realm trying to help with depression or anxiety, they're going to tell you, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you, like, that's the base for a healthy life. So there's a reason why they're recommending that. So people kind of roll their eyes at it, being like, oh, I was going to the gym, going to treat my depression. No, but it'll certainly help manage it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's if nothing else, you're moving the dial in the other direction. You're not sinking down to the bottom of the barrel. You're pushing back up just that little bit. And like, don't get me wrong, for anyone listening that's in that position, I think you and I can both recognize it's still hard. Like, I remember when I first started ever going to the gym, it was tough. It is hard. You're very self-conscious about what you're doing, because no matter what we do, we're going to be self-conscious when we put ourselves in a new environment, when we feel out of our depth. But like, it's that cliche. Yes, change only happens outside the comfort zone, so you have to go. But I do realize sometimes you're knackered tired, you don't want to go. Like, I've gotten to the point now, I've been doing it for so long, I fucking look forward to doing it. I'm like, I can't wait to go fuck myself up today. You know,
trained yourself to condition yourself.
Man, straight up, like, I've got starting next week, I've got conditioning on the air bike, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be so fucked doing this. Like, and it's this weird, like, I can't wait to suffer, you know what I mean? Because it makes everything else feel so good. Like, I feel so relaxed when I lay down in the evening, like, you know what I mean? It's because I know I've put the shift in that day, you know? So yeah, there's value there. But I do want to ask about this, because it's something you touched off. A lot of the time, so I've had a good few people on here, yourself and Jake primarily, have been so open and candid about using performance enhancers, and it's greatly appreciated, because I think it's started a great dialogue. People are more willing to ask and talk about it, and it's out there. It's in the ethos. Everyone knows it exists. It's in the atmosphere. It's in the ether, I should say. And I think it's one of those topics that people will shy away from, but still have an opinion on. So again, thank you to you and Jake for your candid conversation about it. But this raises a very good question. Again, this is not attacking anybody. This is not coming at anybody for their decisions. But I think most people would agree with me and say, right, so you're openly using performance-enhancing drugs, but you've got so many other parts of your life in place. Diet is nailed down. Sleep is nailed down. Blood work is checked regularly. So even though you're adding this thing that, again, has its positives but adds complication, you're introducing this to your life, you've managed all the other pieces. But then we look at athletes like Jake Brennan, who spoke candidly about it last time I had him on, about he recognizes he's obese, he recognizes he's unhealthy, and uses gear. And then you've got the likes of like Eamon Hartford as well, who we'll have on the podcast down the road. These guys, I think, are the flip side of that. They're like, yeah, they're using gear, but like, if you were to ask most people, like, what do you think these guys do? They would not consider themselves athletes. Like, if they, or the people looking at them would say, that's not an athlete.
The stereotypical, what you call an athlete.
That's fucking fat dude, like, you know? Yeah. So, and you've trained about these guys extensively for years and years. Have you had those conversations with them about their health, about their longevity, about like, yeah, fair enough, they're both incredibly strong, but like, is it worth it? Yeah.
Well, like, I could argue that for myself, because I'm doing the same thing. It's like a smoker giving out to somebody who smokes a little bit more. You know?
Well, let me
not that the gear take more gear than me, but I'm saying that it's. I never judge. You make your own decision. I don't give a fuck with that. It's more so just I would definitely be on each other's case, myself included, being like, did y'all wear your CPAP last night? Like, what's the diet looking like? We'd be talking about things like that during our session. Say Jake does a squat, it doesn't move as well, something like that. Then we immediately, I let him calm down. He gets a little cranky after it.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But then when he's calmed down, then we kind of start assessing real quick. Like, okay, wait, where's the, because I'm just a problem. That's what I like. I like solving problems. Yeah. I like building shit and solving problems. That's where I get high off that shit. I fucking love it. So I'm kind of like, okay, where's the hole in the bucket here? So I start looking at it like that. I don't judge a man's opinion. I don't give a shit what he wants to do. If he wants to fucking train with a butt plug in, I do not care. Go ahead. And as long as you don't get anything on me, I don't care. You know what I mean? If it doesn't directly impact me, I do not care what decision you make, or if it doesn't affect anyone else in a negative way. Okay. But at the same time, I will kind of, for my own accountability and for us as well, I would still try my best as a friend to be like, lads, like, wear your fucking CPAP. Like, we would say that to each other. You know what I mean? So it's more so kind of helping steer myself as well as a reminder to make sure we're making good decisions to limit the damage that we're getting from what we're doing for that sport. You know what I mean? Because again, with every single sport, there's going to be, you're sacrificing something to be exceptional at something. You know what I mean? There always is a sacrifice, whether you like it or not. So you're trying to obviously limit the downsides as best you can, you know? And I'm all about like risk rewards. So there's a reason, I do take steroids, but I'm not fucking shooting up heroin and sleeping for 3 hours. And
but
you know what I mean?
I would also say, again, I have a very like low res take on this. I can't because I haven't been there, I haven't done that. I'm only basing this off conversations I've had with yourself and them. I would guess that you have it much more dialed in than they do. I think you would probably, like, again, just on the other metrics you track. Like, I mean, more so, as much, fair enough, you're all using gear, but I think that's, you know, swings and roundabouts there. I think what you're using, how much you're using, how you monitor it probably plays a much bigger part just in on or off. It's not a light switch necessarily. But the other piece is, I mean, like, I would say people would look at you, let's say, and say, there's an athlete. There's a guy I believe is a strong guy, lifts big weights. Like, have you ever tried to talk to the guys about their diets, their dietary habits? Because they're both morbidly obese, and they know that. Like, this is not coming at them. Like, you're a coach.
I'd probably be obese as well if you did the BMI thing. But I know what you mean. It's like
body fat percentage.
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean? I'm talking like, because I know now, especially when we look at BMI, for example, the other consideration people take into now is waist circumference. So you could score higher on the BMI just because you have a lot of muscle. But when you take waist circumference into consideration, it would probably say, okay, you're somebody who's probably quite muscular and that's why you're scoring high. Whereas, like, I don't think that mistake's going to be made for Eamon or Jake. And again, I'm not coming at these two dudes. I'm just using them as an example for like people that and I know everybody does it to some degree. You're making a sacrifice somewhere. But like, I'm a firm believer, and I said this to Jake when I had him on, I think Jake could be just as strong, 20 kilos lighter, if he was willing to be patient enough to get the weight off, keep it off, learn the new leverages. Like, in the years you guys have all been training together on the defib rack in abs, have these conversations ever come up?
Now, you have to factor in the age that we're all at. I'm touching on 30 now, and with geared boys, it's if you look at going open powerlifting, this actually made me decide kind of pull back on taking gear. I was looking at the average age, most Eric Lillibridge, Stan Evans, it's about 35 seems to be the enhanced age where most guys tend to go, I'm going to pull back now. You know? They're touching on that number. So for them to take a time off, lose a shitload of weight and come down, it's not realistic. They have to kind of keep the fucking foot in the gas, get the most out of the years they have left. So that would be the argument I'd have. If you're young, okay, like if you're 20 and you're getting into powerlifting and you're like 30% fucking fat, which a lot of powerlifters are, absolutely not. Like, get your shit in order, lose your fucking body fat, okay? You do not need big fat man titties and all this shit. Seriously, to be like a fucking young powerlifter. And they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm just beefing up for tomorrow's session. They're squatting like 120 kilos, fat as fuck. It's like, no, get in shape, get lean, get athletic, have some respect for yourself when you're young and you can solve it. When you're at the end, near the finish line, like top level dude like Eamon and Jake, they don't give a shit about. Jake cares about dots a bit more than Eamon does. Eamon, it's not in his realm of giving a fuck. His is total. That's his shtick. So if that's his goal, what he's doing is in line with that goal. So there's actually nothing wrong with it. Even though there might be drawbacks to being a big dude and taking gear, there obviously is. It's not the healthiest thing to do, including myself. But still, that's the road he's on. You know. So, and I respect that. He's trying to do the best he can at what he can. You know. I don't respect young guys who are just out the door or are fat as fuck who are just justifying neck and shit all the time. That's unacceptable because you're young. You have years to dial this shit in. If you're getting into powerlifting, a lot of like the average powerlifter is for like a year and a half. Then I go, it's kind of hard, and then they bail. A lot of them do. It's the ones that stick into it after 5 years. That's where each year you should be a little bit leaner at your next comp, a little bit more muscle on the frame, treat yourself like an athlete. You can do it for longer that way, perform better, hit PBs easier, recover faster, look better. Fuck better. All the benefits that you get from being in shape. So I think it's a dependence thing. Where you're at, If you're at the end, stick with what you're doing. Don't fuck it up. Just keep doing what you're doing. Get whatever you can out of it the last few years. If you're a young dude, there's dudes I used to see that get like 160 kilo juniors ripping cigarettes and shit out before they go to a fucking comp. And it's like, you're going to be dead by the time you're 30 if you keep doing this. It's not fucking funny. No one gives a fuck if you squat 300 kilos. It's not that big a deal. Like, it really isn't. No one cares about it more than you. So it's like, why are you doing this to yourself? You know what I mean? Like, because I know for a fact one thing, even for something that I've been doing for years, say, is smoking weed, and I used to always mix tobacco in. I was actually talking to my sister about this last night. I know this has been a bit of a tangent, but it's the ripple effect of something that you've been doing for a long time. So I've been smoking weed for a decade straight, maybe the odd time off here and there, most nights. And I would have mixed tobacco in for about 7 years because weed's expensive. Like, you know, you just mix it in, you can spread it out a lot more. I said to her last night of this, because she's 19 now, or 21. Like, I just forget her fucking age. 21. Okay, we'll call that. And I'm like, you're at that fork in the road now where one thing, if I could go back, and because I know she's just like me, she's going to keep smoking. The fork in the road, though, for the young powerlifter, the same type of thing. If I could go back in time, what would I change? It would be remove the tobacco, keep having a bit of weed, stop with the cancer shit. Because if I get lung cancer in 20 years and I'm kind of like, yeah, like I fucking did that to myself, like I'll probably laugh at him like, you fucking dope. But then I'll go to people who are in that position where it's like, don't do this. It's the same with being out of shape for powerlifting. It's the same type of thing. You're doing something that down the road you can limit. Look at your future self and go, 30, 40 years old, are you having a chat with that person? I do this quite a lot. My future self, and I go, are you going to be happy with where you are then from the decision you're making now? And if you're fat as shit as a young guy in your 20s, fucking sort that shit the fuck out. If you're at the end of the road, keep doing what you're doing, you know, just finish it out strong.
You make excellent points, particularly when talking about junior lifters. This is a point I try to make to any young lifter I have, whether they're a regular client or whether they're a power lifter. I do have quite a couple of young power lifters. And especially when they're not dialed in with food, recovery, things like that. And I say, listen, you live at home. This is the easiest this is ever going to be.
Work. Like,
the easiest time to learn because the pressure doesn't exist. Eventually, you're going to be working 40 hours a week or whatever it is. You might be in college. You might get married. You might have kids. So if you can't dial this in now when there's essentially no pressure, what's going to happen when time is limited? What's going to happen when there's other resources being pulled out of you? What's going to happen when, you know, you've other priorities? So prioritize it now. And we can look across some of, like, look at Cian Madden, phenomenal athlete, phenomenal lifter, in good shape. Mark Stell, phenomenal lifter, in phenomenal shape, young guy. We have Dara McCullough, who is another young lifter who's shredded and pulls like 300 plus kilos at like 75 kilos body weight or something. Like some super, super young athletes. Now, don't get me wrong. These guys could be genetic outliers. They are freak strong, you know, like Mark Stell's bench, man. What's that?
Yeah, I know. You know? Yeah. It just doesn't look like a bencher, but it's like, where's that coming from? Yeah.
Cian's about 80% quads, you know what I mean? Like, again, fair enough. But I do completely agree with what you're saying. This is one piece of advice I would give to anybody listening, especially if you're under the age 25 in powerlifting. Be a general athlete first before you decide you're going to over-specialize. I don't understand why powerlifters don't do cardio. They don't push like a good amount of accessory work. You can still be great at SBD, coming into comps and things like that and really specialize on it, but still look like you lift.
Get jacked, yeah.
Exactly. You don't have to be walking around like the pepperami man skinny or walking around like Mr. Potato Head. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a pro and con with powerlifting. I do like that it's open to everybody. I do like the only real barrier to participation is being able to squat, bench, and deadlift. I think it's good that, particularly on the female side, it encourages girls that there's not a problem with gaining weight. You don't have to be tiny and skinny and emaciated and weak. You can gain weight and cultivate good mass, you know. Nothing wrong with a small waist and a big arse. You know what I mean?
Booty,
and particularly, like I had Kim Murray on recently, and she was saying when she actually went up a weight class, it balanced out her hormones in a way she didn't realize was a problem. She said she didn't realize she had like no libido and low energy, and she came up about 3 or 4 kilos, and now she feels incredible. So it's all positive. But the flip side of that is sometimes it does kind of encourage people to, more mass is better. Just eat, and pouring all this shit quality food down your neck. So I do think that's a bit of an issue.
You can get locked into a weight class as well.
Yes.
So if you're like, say, fucking, I don't know, 80 kilos or something like that, or 70 kilos, or it is, and you're in that realm, and 2 years go by, you're still in that realm, because you're like, oh, I'm competing in this weight class. It's like, bro, like, you're doing powerlifting wrong. Like, get more muscle on your frame. The more muscle you have, the easier it is to get stronger. I think I had like, my first comp, I did a 332 kilo deadlift. Okay, my very first powerlifting comp ever.
Wow.
Now I was taking gear and shit, obviously.
Still a big deadlift.
But it's a nice one to open the fucking sport with. And what I'm saying to you is that the reason why that was there was I had a fuckload of muscle on my frame before I went in. So you guys just stay skinny. It's like, oh, I'm too scared to fucking eat a lot of food and beef up. It's like, shut the fuck up. You gotta get, I've been puffy as shit and I got heavy before. Many times, about 143 kilos.
I've seen the picture.
Yeah, I've been a big boy. But the point I'm trying to get to is that you do have to kind of, it's a balancing act. It's don't get so fat that you're like fucking your health's compromised, but at the same time, don't stay locked into a weight class. You should actively be trying to get bigger. And the rhythm that I love to see, that I worked very well for me over the years, was compete, beef up into a competition, compete. After the comp, drop the body fat, get the conditioning up, get nice and lean, ton of hypertrophy work, then keep the hypertrophy work in. Don't go, if you go comp, like 6 comps a year, you're like, why am I getting better? No fucking shit. You keep competing, man. Like I remember Ed Cohen said this, compete twice a year, like max. You need an off season to actually get bigger and stronger. People don't have the patience for that. And they add like, oh, I added 2 kilos. And I've done this myself. So I added 2 kilos to my total after a year. It's like, I just spent a year and countless hours for fucking what? It's like, oh, it was fun and memories and all this bullshit. But it's like, I'm here to get stronger. You know what I mean? Like, and they say it ain't happening. You know what I mean? So you need an off season. You need to periodize things. Fat loss phase, muscle building phase, strength phase, gaining phase, and be strategic with them.
Yeah.
Don't just stay fat year round and add barely anything to your total. Don't stay in a weight category just skinny as fuck.
Yeah.
To lock yourself in as well. You know, you have to plan a year to maybe even 2 years in advance. And that's you sort of be a way better lifter. And when you have that massive jump, which I did when I got my first 900 kilo total, I went from like, I was around the 830 to 850 range for about years, for like 4 or 5 comps. And then I had this massive jump and I was like, whoa, where the fuck that come from? It's because I dialed in everything. I brought my weight from 143 down to 113, got in way better shape. I recovered better, performed better. Everything was dialed in. So it's like, treat yourself like that. It's look after yourself and you'll perform better. Be intelligent with it. Don't just keep competing and stay fat, which a lot of guys do in powerlifting.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what? I think it's on both ends of that spectrum, whether you're like, you know, chubby and afraid to cut, either due to lack of discipline or fear of losing some kilos off your total, or if you're like this super skinny guy in a weight class and unwilling to grow, it's a short term, like you're taking one step back to potentially take 3 steps forward. Yes, if you start gaining weight and go up a weight class, you might not be competitive for the next year or so, but it will pay dividends later. You're going to recover better. You're going to put on some good quality mass. And I would actually say it's the indirect stuff. It'll probably affect the rest of your life. Yeah. You'll probably like look better in clothes, feel better. I know for me, like I just finished a bit of a competition season in the Irish PF and I was competing under 93. I like to walk around about 96. And I remember all winter, I was just fucking freezing cold, man. Just freezing cold. And now I can eat again. And I've so much more energy. My mental clarity is brilliant. I never really had problems below the waist anyway, below the belt. But like still, just like feeling just phenomenal in all facets of life. Training feels incredible. Like I remember the feeling when I really, really started to burn out when I was cutting. I was doing reverse flies on a pec machine, reverse cable flies. And I just remember the intense burning in my delts and just not being able to do any more reps. And I was like, I am fucking gassed out on reverse fucking flies, man. I'm so done. I'd get like 3 or 4 exercises into a session and be like, I just want to go home, you know? But now it's the flip side. I could fucking stay in there all day and feel phenomenal. So I do think there's real value in that. And same for the heavier guys that are afraid to cut down. Yeah, like, and this is what I was saying to Jake when I had him on. And I do see your point though about the guys and how far into the game they are and the big
top level dudes.
Yeah, like they're competing at elite level. Maybe it's a bit different than, you know, you got these entry level guys squatting 120, you know, worrying about cutting 3 kilos, you know? Yeah. But the point is like, I think in both cases, it's play the long game. If you're going to be in powerlifting for a while, it doesn't matter if you take a year to build, take a year to maybe cut down to a healthier size, learn those new leverages. And like you said, Jake says this a lot. Most guys are in and out in 18 months. Pop culture powerlifters, poppies. Yeah. You've obviously heard the rant as well.
Johnny Thompson.
Yeah. And I think it's a really, really good point. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch off there just real quickly before I move you on is you actually, this is what I use now, and it's all because of a post you made. How to know when you should bulk or when you should cut. So it's like if I'm bulking, so as I'm doing now, in the morning, I'll go and I'll use the restroom and I look in the mirror and I say, if my abs are still visible, I'm good to keep going. Yeah. But if I get to the point where I start getting a bit too fluffy, where first thing in the morning, I can't see any visible abs, I'm like, okay, now I'm getting too fat. Yeah. And I think that's such a simple way to know what you should do. Like, because I'll get this a lot, and I'm sure you do too. Oh, should I cut or should I bulk? I'm like, man, if you're asking that question, the problem's probably, the issue's probably cutting. You probably want to cut because that shouldn't be, like, if you're fucking shredded lean, yeah, cool.
You know you're there. Yeah. And that's for dudes as well, not women. Yeah. Obviously, like women with abs is a very different conversation.
Yeah, that's a great, that's going to tie into a question we got for you later.
Okay, brilliant.
But yeah, I use that method. Where did you come up with that?
It's just knowing that your testosterone levels are in a healthy range. Now, I didn't come up with it. I don't come up with anything. I didn't invent anything. I'm just repeating. I'm the filter.
Yeah.
I've spent 15 years doing this shit. I've gone to the best coaches around the world. Sam Efferding, Josh Bryant, Jay Farrand, all these guys, elite level dudes, Dave Palumbo, everyone you can think of. And I filter out things that work for me and things that don't work well. And then I start to notice a trend, because again, success leads clues. When you see these top level guys all saying the same thing, then I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if they go, your body fat levels around 10 and 12% as a natural male, your testosterone level is going to be a hell of a lot better. If I see countless doctors saying that, I don't need to go read the fucking studies. I don't give a shit. If I see people who have done that, I'm just going to regurgitate what they said, because I've seen a trend of 100 people saying it. Then I do it myself, look at my actual blood work and have the actual black and white data of a massive improvement in all my bloods.
Yeah.
Knowing I'm going to live a longer, healthier life and all that. That's where it kind of comes from. You know what I mean? So it's just watching successful people, knowing exactly what they're doing, implementing it myself as a guinea pig, and then implementing it with clients. Once I've obviously been the guinea pig, I never prescribe something I haven't done myself.
You need to have lived through it first, see what it's all about.
Exactly. So you're listening to people, you're applying it, and then you're giving it. That's the rhythm that I have with the coaching.
And then I assume that's the same method you use for yourself. Then if you're bulking and cutting, you'll base it on the abs.
You can trick yourself a little bit now. When I got up to 143, I was kind of like, oh, still a bit of fucking abs there. And you kind of lean back a little bit and all this kind of shit. I have this rule there where it's between 10 and 18% fat year round. So if you're bulking, do not go above 18%.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are at 30%, but I'm probably at 18 right now. You're more than likely not. If it jiggles, Arnold's quote, if it jiggles, it's like, you got to get rid of it. You know what I mean? Right. So if a lot of jiggling going on and you can get a good handful of it, you're probably about 30% fat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're a pinching level, use your hand as a gauge. It's not going to grow in size between the time now and you're 80 years old. So you can kind of use that as a reference point, or even a waist measurement, whatever it is. Eyeballing in the mirror, like you said, is good, but you can trick yourself with that. So maybe a photo.
Just the right angle.
Yeah. A photo would be a lot more honest. So a photo done at the same time of day in the same room, maybe once a week, that's a much more accurate way of doing it. Because if you look at a photo of yourself, there's times I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to take a photo for this. Looking pretty good. And then I look at the photo, I'm like, okay. And then it's like, not actually as lean as I thought I was. And then there's literally that happens. So a photo is a way more accurate. That's why I do the guys in the Better Man Project.
Progress pictures.
Photo, waist measurement, and average weekly to bi-weekly weight.
Yeah. When I start clients, I do that's just 3 things I say to them. I say, look, my recommendation would be weigh every day or as many times as you can, give as much information as we can gather. I'd usually do measurements at the beginning, probably once every 2 weeks, and go to once a month, and progress pictures once a month, once every 2 weeks if they prefer. And you can really track progress across time.
Absolutely,
and again, you'll see the first couple kind of look the same, and it'll be very gradual. You see some things, but then you compare like the first one to the 12th one, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like drastically different. All right, so we've got a unique little segment here now for you. So I am guilty of, when I have you on the podcast specifically, I'm just asking you things I want to know about.
Yeah.
So I opened the floor to some of our listeners on Instagram just this morning, just to see what they'd want to ask you, and actually got quite a few questions I was surprised about. Now, most people went for the anonymous option because it gives them a little bit more freedom, but we'll get into it if you're happy to, and we'll see what we can surprise you with. So one of the main ones we got was from a couple of lads in abs, just asking when you're coming back to dethrone Killian and take him off the board, Killian Carolyn on the strength board and abs. People want to see Ben come back. I suppose it's fair to say, look, you've only just stepped away from powerlifting. It's probably going to be another while, but I don't think you've ever really shut the door on it.
I'm still lifting like balls. I still squat and bench and deadlifting in the gym. It's just getting ready for a powerlifting competition and beefing up right now isn't in my wheelhouse of importance. You know what I mean? It was for many years. But again, work, that's the long game here. I'm not going to be powerlifting until I'm 80. I'll be working until I'm 80 though. You know what I mean? So that's the start of a new journey for me. And the itch you get from powerlifting, which is like this purposeful showing up, doing your stuff. It's like a long ass pilgrimage, man. Like it's a fucking tough road. You've injuries, you've highs and lows, all this kind of stuff. That's now bled a hell of a lot more into kind of the Better Man Project and me getting lads results in there. That's the main focus now. Obviously, family, friends, they're way more important. That's the most important thing. But I mean, where I'm applying my time, majority of my time, powerlifting just isn't there anymore because the hours that it takes to apply, where that could be spent towards helping more people there and just kind of keeping myself in shape.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that. It's what is motivating you to get up and go to work, everyone. Like I say to everybody, I say, like, I don't feel like I've worked a day in the last 7 years because I love coaching. I love coaching people in person, online. I love working in this field. I don't feel like I go to work. I don't feel like this is fucking work.
Yeah,
like, we're
it's
just
fun.
Yeah, we're just talking shit, like, you know?
Yeah.
So like that, I get if powerlifting became a thing that felt like work, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, I think like I've had those higher and lower bouts of motivation too, but I think in the position you're in, like you're really onto something good here with the Better Man Project. So I suppose it depends on, are the man hours you're putting into powerlifting paying off for that? Like you said before, that extra 2.5 kilos on the total, probably not a priority right now, especially as you've got this really good growing business. So that's where the hours are going. That ties nicely then into, I got another question from one of the boys down in Abs, and he was asking, is the main goal with the Better Man Project to be in like an overview role? So the analogy I used earlier on when we were talking about this was, he wants to know, are you ever going to be like hands off with the clients and just overseeing things? So I would equate this to be like, you're basically, there's a ship, that's the Better Man Project, you're the captain, you're the guy that says lower the anchor or full steam ahead, or, you know, I don't know, 30 degrees out the starboard bow. I'm not a ship dude, but you get what I'm saying. You're going to be that guy. Now, you may not be the guy physically lowering the anchors, you may not be the guy physically shoveling the coal into the engine, but you're the guy that dictates the direction of everything. Would I be right in saying
100%.
that?
My goal with Better Man Project is to position myself where I can provide the most amount of value to the most amount of people. Okay, so if I'm doing, say, one-to-one check-ins all day long, that means the other, say, 1,000 people out there that I could get a result for and help with, that time's now gone, you know? So how I look at it is, yes, I'll be bringing coaches into the program. We have one now, and he's really full of clients, doing absolutely phenomenally well, but I still have touch points with all the clients. I do like a weekly live Q&A where all the members hop on. It becomes a membership podcast as well, which they can re-listen to it. I do live trainings, which I have one today at 2 p.m. I have to do a live training there and discuss whatever. I look for trends of where guys are struggling in the plan, and I make detailed presentations, basically no sciencey bullshit, straight up on exactly how to do it. I can provide more value doing things like that. Okay, if I can delegate out roles to other people that are doing the exact same thing I was doing, it's just giving me back more time to then give more value to the client. So basically, long story short, if a client comes into the business, the likelihood of them getting a better result is drastically increased if I'm not the only person doing everything.
For sure.
If there's a team of people, would you rather a team of people at a NASCAR pit helping you fucking strip your car and get it ready to go back on the track, or one guy there with a drill gun, zzz, one wheel at a time? Like, absolutely not. That's kind of how it's done.
Yeah. You
understand? So I have like a physio to refer to, I have a doctor to refer to, I have coaches, I have a whole crew now where everyone has their roles. Okay. And the main goal is getting the personal result. Because the goal is, it's not the Ben show. It's the client getting a phenomenal result, and how I can craft something to make it as easy as possible for them to stick to and enjoy the process throughout.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to do it, because it's not just the Ben show, it's the Better Man Project. So the idea is, if you can find, like you mentioned, you're working with a coach now, naturally I assume there was a bit of a vetting process there. You've like very much aligned values in what you offer. I assume, again, you're still steering the ship, and this has just allowed you to then move on to do other things. Free up, like you said, if you're doing all the check-ins all day, this is time that could have been spent maybe bringing more people in, maybe expanding into other areas, maybe networking a little more. So again, it's to the benefit of everyone. It's actually a great quote about making business. I only saw it today, or doing business. It's like, you want to set yourself up so when you're working with people, the best thing is, if you make money or if you do well, five other people do well. You don't have to be the only one doing well. If everybody succeeds, the high tide raises all shit. So you should set yourself up in such a way that when you win, more than one person wins. So the more you win, the more the coaches that work under you win, the more Bonnie wins, the more all the guys in the Better Man Project win. So I think that's a really great way to do it.
I want to be the tide, as you were saying with
Precisely.
the quote. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you've mentioned before, and numerous times, you lead from the front. So you're setting the trend now, and more people can follow in the wake and can ride the coattails of success. And I think that works well for everybody, because we're all ultimately doing that to some degree. I think that's a great way to do it, to be the person kind of like facing into the storm and pushing through. So a couple more questions. We're now switching over to some of the more anonymous ones. So we're just going to see how these go. This is a bit more of a personal one. So was there any complications because you used steroids when you were having a baby?
So I came off. So we were trying for a while, and then I came off thinking that would speed up the process, because I did like a sperm test and it was low. Because when you take gear, that's what it does. Your nuts are basically no longer of use, because that's what helps testosterone production. So I went and got like HCG and all the stuff bodybuilders have to do, which it was underground shit, so it did not work. Long story short, yes. Don't get me wrong, Ronnie Coleman has 9 kids. You know what I mean? So it depends on the person. Buddy. Some people go bald, some people get acne. It's the same with having kids. There are people where it can affect them. But we solved it within 90 days. So we got legit HCG, HMG, or FSH, which are the 3 drugs you have to take. And took that. Sperm was completely back to normal. It was more so than it was the average male, because those would obviously ramp things the fuck up. All ready to rock then, So it's if there is, like, send me a message and I can help you. It's very specific to the individual. Your best bet though is doing a sperm, as a man, obviously, is doing a sperm. I don't know with women. If you're a woman on taking steroids, very unique. I do not know how to help with that. I can't help you. It's a far more complicated matter. With dudes, it's not trying to sell steroids, make it sound better than it is. It's a really easy fix. It's weirdly easy, because I thought it was this big. There's a lot of people who cannot solve this problem. But with myself, Bonnie more so, went fucking gung-ho trying to solve this. And there's a couple of drugs you need to take to solve it. And there's always a drug for a drug, which is a funny thing. But then it came back no issue at all, And now obviously we have a kid, so it clearly worked, Yeah, it is something that if you're on the fence taking steroids, it can affect that. But again, I've got clients that would have issues with having babies and they're not even on anything. So it's still, I think it's like the older you get, the more awkward it can be. And there's less likely for you as a man now to have a child compared to like 20, 30 years ago. It's a lot harder to have kids for people. But with steroids, it can contribute and make things a little bit more awkward.
That's it. I think like there's going to be complications, don't necessarily have to be intrinsically linked to anything anyone's using. Sometimes it just is harder. But I think it's there's good value in there to know for people. Maybe if there's somebody's listening that is on gear or maybe has been for a long time, and maybe this is like this looming fear that they have, like, what am I going to do when I want kids? There is potentially an answer there, and you're recommending they reach out to you and you can maybe point them in the right direction.
So just to see where they're at. I actually speak to a good few bodybuilders about this and guys who take it. It's just to get an idea of where they're at before I just go, everyone do this or everyone do that.
Sure.
It's just the first thing you can do if you're unsure about it, get a sperm quality and quantity test. Because quantity is easy. Just fucking Jason says how much you have there. Quality is a different thing. You actually have to go into like a hospital and check if it has fucking tails or whatever it is, that it checks that it's actually swimming properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of two avenues to go down there.
Yeah, no, it's a good point to raise. As I said, like it's one of the things I like about, like I said, having your likes and you and Jake on it, that you will speak openly about these things, and you've been there, you've been in that scenario, you have a little baby, you know what I mean? So it's good to have that out there, that people can see that there is another side of it that maybe, again, it's not openly discussed, but there is potentially answers. So, but it's going to be different advice for everybody based on where they are. All right, so have another one here for you. This is a bit more general. Somebody writes in saying, all my body fat is on my stomach and my love handles. My arms and legs look lean. What do I do?
I get this quite a lot with people kind of starting off trying to lose fat. You can't lose it. Well, everyone knows you can't. Well, not everyone. Any trainer listening to this will be like, oh, we all know that, but not the population does, okay? Because I did it when I was younger. There's always stubborn fat. There's something like that. Yes, men and women can put body fat on in certain areas more so based on their gender, because that is a hormonal thing. Like, men tend to have like leaner arms and legs and hold their fat in their gut. Women 9 times out of 10 tend to be the opposite. Okay. Now don't get me wrong, you can get to the point where you're just fat everywhere if you get it to that point. Yeah. But on average, it's legs and arms with women and the opposite with men. You can't spot reduce. We know that. You can't just train your abs and be like, oh, I'll have a six pack. It does not work like that at all. Yes, you can train the muscle around there to come through the skin. That would make sense. You hypertrophy a muscle, it's bigger. So yeah, it would appear to come through the skin a lot more. We have to focus on being in a calorie deficit and losing fat everywhere, not in one area. You're just holding more fat in one area because that's what people are kind of, as I said, men hold it in their gut a lot more, women hold it in their legs. Still train your body as a unit. Don't like look at it as one area that needs. It's not like getting, say, for example, a girl with small tits and she's like, oh, I want to get a boob job. Yeah. That's like a specific area. You go there and you get a specific result. Boom, my big old titties now, problem solved. This is a different thing. With body fat, you have to lose it everywhere at once. Okay. So that's how it's done. It just takes a little bit longer because you tend to hold more fat in one area than another.
So that, I suppose that's like the big thing, is it's a genetic predisposition where you're going to hold it. And this person sounds like they are just holding it primarily around their midsection.
Yeah. No, I don't want that to be taken as genetic in that, like, oh, my family or some horseshit. It's like, no, you're just eating too much and you put on fat. Everyone can get lean.
Yeah. They'll still respond well. They'll still respond to the deficit so long as they're doing it for correctly. Like, so, go listen to the firing the bullets analogy. It will work. I think for a lot of people, it's just there's no patience with these things. Again, because we can pay for anything now and have it instantly. So especially if you've gained a lot of body fat, need to diet it off, particularly because first place everyone looks is like, especially if you're a dude, as you mentioned, the man boobs, the gut. So like, this is something that's going to come off quite slowly because they've probably built it up slowly over time. All right. So next one we have then is more of a business one. Why won't Ben work with women?
Right now, I'm not. We were jokingly saying that we'd make a better woman project, or better people to fit the fucking weird mainstream media.
Better them
project. Yeah. Honestly, it's just I like to teach and give value from a place I haven't been a girl. I don't have any fucking cycles, or periods, things like that. So there are people who know a hell of a lot more than that. So I just say go to them. You know what I mean? It's you're going to have more value in that realm going to someone who knows how to handle a woman's hormones, things that I don't. So that's just why I don't do it. I want to bullshit people. I say it as it is. I'm pretty honest with things. That's why I talk about gear openly and baby, all this stuff. I don't give a fuck. I'm being honest. I feel like I'm not skilled enough to teach people that I have not been in their position, if that makes sense,
Completely. And I don't think it's necessarily a problem. In fact, I would say there are probably far, far more coaches, like female coaches, that only take women clients than there are men that only take men. I don't
they're
think
easier to sell to. That's the thing.
Women,
hands down.
They're big. They drive more consumerism anyway. But like, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think it's good that you specialize in men.
Yeah.
I think there's a market there for that and people that want that. And I don't think it's necessarily reflective of any particular position on anything other than, look, I'm specializing where I know the most.
Yeah.
And I'm not going into an area that I don't know as much. I don't think that's an issue. I think, like, particularly in fitness, I think now with the amount of services, women are well serviced. There's a lot of great female coaches out there.
Yeah.
Whether they're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. And I don't think, like, for example, I don't think you would get the same question to a female coach that only trains women.
Yeah.
So why don't you train men?
I'd
imagine this was born more of curiosity than it was of any kind of finger wagging. But I think you're right. Like, women generally, hormonally anyway, are far more complex.
Yeah.
There's another nice lady that runs a podcast here at a Primal named Aisling. She runs the AOK Nutrition Spilling the Tea podcast. She specializes on women's health, hormones, their cycle, the pill, their contraceptive. Such phenomenal content. So if there are any ladies listening that want to know more about women's health, I would strongly recommend Aisling's podcast. This is as much as we would talk about anything, it's two lads. Probably can't lend as much nuance to it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling. This is kind of more in your wheelhouse though. So somebody said, what are some signs of low test levels? What should I look out for before doing bloods?
Sex drive's the big one. So simple as that. If you're not like lusting after whatever you're into, not if you're gay or straight, whatever it is, but whatever you're normally attracted to, if the wanting to bang has gone down, as bro science as it sounds, or vulgar, that's the big one. If you just don't want to have sex, that is a huge thing to look for. That's kind of the go-to. Like that's the heaviest one, because that's what people take testosterone for 9 times out of 10. Yes, you get a little bit leaner. There's other benefits with it, but that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Depression could be another one as well. Like if I'm not saying it just take testosterone, you're cure depression. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying though, if you've noticed your mood is depressed, you don't have depression, but it's less than what it normally was, that could be another thing. You know what I mean? So there's a few. The blood test is going to show it more than anything. So I would still get one regardless of how you feel. Don't just go, because you got to bullshit yourself. People can actually numb themselves to their own problems. That's why some people who's like 600 pounds, morbidly obese, if you were in a 200 pound body and you went up to 600 pounds overnight, you'd feel like shit the next day. But it's that whole boiling the frog in the water thing. They just become accustomed to it. It's like normal. Is that boiling the frog? Is that the quote that people use? You know, when they put a frog and they slowly turn up the heat and it simmers. They don't notice it. They just die then. And when you throw them in, they jump out. So it's the same type of thing. It's not a sudden change. So with testosterone, you can kind of just learn to, like, I've come off tests. My test levels were at 2, like, which is nothing. It's like less than a chick's nearly. And then what ended up happening, I didn't even notice. I was like, yes, my sex drive is down. I was like, am I less horny? I was like, what's going on here? I was like, didn't really notice it. And then I got the bloods and I was like, holy fuck. And then I could see the difference there. So you can kind of bullshit yourself, and I wouldn't just rely on, I'm a very black and white dude. I like data. I like numbers. They don't lie. They don't care how you feel. Don't rely on that. The indicator is sex drive, but get them done regardless.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think that's good, tangible advice. Like, and I think like that, like, dudes are generally always switched on. We're always kind of like a little bit horny, you know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're finding, straight up, like, you know, I'm half cocked right this minute. But if you're in that position where you're like, for prolonged periods of time, you've got like completely disinterested in whatever you're into, it's probably a little bit of a red flag, or at least an amber flag, and that'd probably be a good time to go get the bloods done. There was actually another question here about bloods. Why is there such an emphasis on blood tests if most coaches don't look into this?
So, well, one thing you have to remember, like, most personal trainers, if you look at it as well, like, most of them, none of the ones that I actually know, because I don't really, but if you go around to like a Westwood or like a normal gym, they haven't a fucking clue what they're doing. They're just 12 weeks further along after their shitty little PT cert. Okay. And they're just, I call them glorified rep counters. There's like 1, 2, that's literally what someone's paying. And then the mom or dad, whoever it is, they just vent their problems at them. So you're venting and having someone count your reps. That's it. Okay. And for some people that can be great. You might be uncomfortable walking around a gym, whatever it is. The reason, as I said earlier on to you, I like to leave no stone unturned. So the reason why bloods are important to me is that I've set up a program that when you come into it, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to stick to. But at the same time, it's a bullshit detector where you're leaving no stone unturned. I can see the full picture here. So there's something wrong with your bloods or whatever it is. Like, okay, that could be why it's taking a while to lose body fat. Okay. Not just here's your check-in, your accountability, your training plan. They are important too. That's what every other coach gives. There's a reason why 99.9% of people don't have amazing results for their clients is they don't go the extra mile trying to find out every single thing. Bloods show the inside. Okay. Their energy and stress, all that stuff. You can see the outside with their body composition and stuff like that, but the bloods paint the full picture. So that's why I do it. It leaves no stone unturned. There's nothing left to debate. It's hard numbers. You can see there's a vitamin D3. Literally 2 days ago, the client got his bloods back to me, had a look at them, low vitamin D. Now he's taking vitamin D. That's immediately going to help his performance. Even though he had phenomenal results, there's nothing else wrong. His check-ins, he was 100% compliant, dialed everything in, but he had that. And we wouldn't have known that if we didn't get the blood test done.
Yeah.
And that massively affects results and performance over time, vitamin D.
And where do you mostly refer people to for the blood tests?
So I start off with like a local GP and then kind of like a specialist, you know? So just go to your local doctor. I can send you a list of things to get looked at if you just send me a DM. It's like a list of shit. I have to read it out now, but it's a comprehensive blood panel, all this kind of stuff. So your local GP, and then again, this is for men. There's like specialists in Ireland that you can go to. Now, I don't know about around the world. You know, there are kind of TRT clinics and stuff like that if you need to take anything like that, you know, but just start off with a GP first. I'll give you these things to get looked at. Then you can go from there. And you can hopefully address a few things, like I said, with the vitamin D. That's an easy fix. You have to meet some fucking weirdo in a cellar to get testosterone, to elevate your testosterone levels. You can just literally order vitamin D on MyProtein or wherever. Fuck MyProtein. But I'm saying just any supplement company. You can order your vitamin D if you've low vitamin D. Problem solved, you know? I literally did a blood test there 2 weeks ago. I had to order fish oils, things for my cholesterol, things for like loads of little things just to bring into my diet because there's a few things off because I take steroids. That's going to skew things more so than the natural person. So I have to count that as best I can through supplementation. So I have to actually order, even though I'm this like anti-supplement guy, I am, because most people, the reason why I'm anti-supplement is because most people take them and they don't know why they need them. I did blood work. Based on that blood work, I had to call the doctor. And the doctor was like, "Yeah, these things you need to order." I ordered them. Now I'm taking them. You know.
Yeah, so. And like we talked about it before. I think with supplements, it's like people are immediately jumping like to 0.10 when really they like, let's look at sleep, let's look at food, let's look at training, let's look at these important factors first before we bother with the things that might only be a very small % difference anyway. Now, like you said, there sometimes are really good positive benefits if you know it's something you need. Like if somebody is B12 deficient, they go to the doctor, they get the blood work, to get B12 injections could be life changing. But again, just blindly throwing like 200 quid at MyProtein or bulk powders or whoever. Just because, your favorite influencer said this Mastek, you know what I mean? Ashwagandha, you know? Whatever it might be. Totally agree with that. All right. So we got some other fun ones here. These are kind of more topical, more current events. So we'll start with a little bit of probably the lighter one. What does Ben think of David Goggins?
David Goggins, honestly, I don't connect with him. That's being completely honest, because his whole shtick is like motivational and show up and do your thing and stuff like that. It's like
stay fucking hard.
Yeah, I'm kind of I just do it anyway. So it's I feel like he's a motivational guy, and I'm not a motivational person. I don't need motivation's not this tangible thing you can track and measure and like deploy. It's just randomly summoned at times. So you're relying on it based on emotions, which I think is a weak foundation. I think discipline and having standards in place and how you live your life and things that you want to compromise or infiltrate, you know what I mean? To ruin the quality of your life, that's down to your habits and what you do on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very kind of like that. That's why I don't connect with him. He's kind of like, do this, run this far, and I wouldn't really look at half the shit as unnecessary. It's necessary to him, but I don't think that's going to actually have trackable and measurable data of improving someone's life. Whereas if you say you make fucking, I don't know, $5,000 a year and you're basically homeless and you can barely get by, versus making $100,000 a year, very different level of existence.
For sure.
You can pay your bills, you can go out on dates, have fun, go on a holiday once a year, whatever the fuck it is. Those are numbers. There's hard numbers and the thing you can do with those numbers. That's what I'm saying. So that's how I look at things, very black and white. His thing is kind of just it's Tony Robbins stuff. It's airy fairy. Again, people love him. If he helps people push them in the right direction, good on him. I'm just not like that. That's just not what I don't connect with.
For sure. So I didn't actually know a whole lot about David Goggins up until I'd say this past year.
Okay.
I listened to his audiobook, Can't Hurt Me. I listened to that. It was pretty good. It was a decent little listen. And then more recently, a friend of mine was going to see him. He was in the Dublin Convention Centre. So I went to see him there. A mate of mine was going. And it was actually quite good. He was quite likable. And like that, I do get I think I got more insight into the person behind the shtick, you know? But I can totally see, like, when you're at the level you're at, like, you've got so many, like we've mentioned previously, like spinning plates, like going to the gym is just something you do because that is just intrinsic to Ben Craughwell. You are running your own business. You're growing that. These are just things that are normal to you. But I think when you're somebody who is like, at that, you can't summon the effort to get up and go for a walk, to go get your haircut, to, make your bed in the morning, to cook some breakfast, whatever it might be, the effort and everything. I think David Goggins' story of, just fucking do it. You know what I mean? Just put yourself in those uncomfortable scenarios just because you should. In essence, I think it speaks more to those people. Whereas I think you've already transcended past the point of somebody he would resonate with. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's totally...
But I do need motivation there. I'm not a robot where I'm just like a fucking sitting at home like a stoic philosopher, like numb to everything. It's not like that at all. There's like peaks and valleys like everyone else, you know?
And I don't say that. Let people think that's what you do.
Yeah. I am a robot.
Ben is just always rooking outside of these podcasts and making his content.
There's times like, oh, here we go. At the start of every ruck, I got to want to go, here we go. And like an hour of ruck and it's a fucking bitch the first 2 minutes. Then 25 minutes and we're just chatting away. We're like, fuck, we're halfway. And it's just like, you don't even notice the thing happening. So it's that initial, and David Goggins actually has that as well. One thing I did learn from was that he said that he sits on the edge of his bed in the morning and he's like, fuck this shit. Yeah. I get that all the time. Even though I love my day, 99% of what I do, and that's just some bullshit that goes on or whatever, some stress that comes at you, life happens.
Yeah.
But I've constructed my life in that everything that I do on a daily basis, I love doing this shit. Like I'm on a fucking podcast chatting with you, shooting the shit. That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm like in an office right now just going beep, beep, like bored out of my tits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's I'm doing something I enjoy, it's fun, and it's on my terms, but it also benefits my quality of life and looks after my family, all these things as well. You know, so it's again, there is resistance with a lot of things. You're always going to have that, but you have to have a little bit of kind of in yourself, bit of self-talk and like stop being a fucking pussy. And I think that one thing that how I learned that was I had crippling social anxiety when I was like 18 or 19 after my dad died. And I literally couldn't go to a till in Dunnes Stores without like shitting myself. And then it got to the point where I literally put on like motivational music just to go to Dunnes Stores and literally have to psych myself up. Because there was a lot of people down there and I was like, fuck, there's a lot of people here and my threat detector's going off the chart, all these things. Crazy sounding shit.
Eye of the tiger to go to Dunn's.
No joke, man. A bit of fucking metal. Like get ready for powerlifting comedy. Just psych yourself up. And then those little baby steps of something that you're like, you had a problem going to a shop. Like, what the fuck's wrong with like, that was what it was like at me at one point. You know
they
what I mean?
call it exposure therapy.
Yeah. So put your toe in the water, like, you know what I mean? It burns, but who gives a fuck? Just go again. Keep doing it, you know?
And that's it. It's like graded, like you go to the point of just, I think Jordan Peterson talks about it, who comes up in a later question, actually. It's a graded exposure. You just go just past the point of your understanding or your tolerance, just to that little bit extra, and you can come back. And then that will kind of expand what you can tolerate until you're like, a functional member of society.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to go too deep, like public speaking seminar where you can barely talk to someone at a Dunnes Stores still. Clearly not that jump.
Just
the baby
little,
steps. Now I'm on a podcast chatting away to you and probably thousands of people listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And, popular fucking guest as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you see the picture I used for your most recent episode? So she like jacked a bit. I was like, that's going to get some clicks. You're going to get more of those OnlyFans questions on your Q&A.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of getting into a bit more contentious territory now. So what does Ben think of Andrew Tate? And the Iron Mindset podcast is cancelled. Thank you very much for coming.
What a blue-haired people just come in, fucking sack the place. I think that he is. I'm not like him in a lot of ways, but I would agree with a lot of stuff that he says. You know, like everything. I'm sure if you sat down with fucking Hitler and you had a chat with him, there's probably some things you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, and then maybe don't do that. You know what I mean? Like there's a realm with everyone. Now I know Kanye West has kind of leaned into a little bit too extreme. You know what I mean? So there's kind of in the mentally ill realm to actually giving and providing value to people. Do I think he helps people? Yeah. And do I think the people that he's pissing off is causing, I don't know, is he ruining their life by what he's saying? No, not at all. Do I think he's making society worse? No. Based on what he said. I've listened to the lad. I watched him. Anytime I've spoke to someone who doesn't like Andrew Tate, my mom hates him. Like, I'm like, why'd you hate him? And I was like, I'd like black straight up ask her. She's like, oh, I saw something on the news. And I was like, okay. So the people that don't like him were telling you that he's a bad person. Obviously, there's bias there. Form your own opinion. That's why I don't watch the fucking news, because that's shit. This is an example I'm talking about again. It's the bad guy. Trump as well, the bad guy. It's like, just pause, hear what they have to say, form your own fucking opinion. My sister was like that as well. And the reason why I refer to her a lot, she's at that age bracket of like the stupidest fuck generation where people are like 20. Okay. And I was there myself. You're just a fucking idiot. Like, it's like, oh, everyone else thinks this. I'll think that too. That's what everyone's like. And as you get older, you know yourself, the further away from get from school, the more you're kind of like, oh, form my own fucking opinion. And that's what it's like. And it feels better each time you do that because you lean into your own personality and more and kind of have your own values and things like that. She now has shifted so many views. Not that I projected my own on her, but more so being like, just stop jumping to hating someone because everyone else does. Because like, oh, you're cancelled now. If someone says the word, oh, that guy's cancelled, I'm like, oh, you're another one of those fucking idiots that's just conditioned by other people's opinions. You're just scared to say your own thing. So Andrew Tate, I think that, to wrap him up, He does say some things to provoke, but again, we're talking about him right now, so it obviously works. It's very clever marketer. He says things, sensational kind of things to get the tabloid headline. That's what he says, like crazy shit about women and owning them, all this kind of stuff. Whatever, that's the point of view. That's the point of view. But the other 95% of what he says, if you listen to what he actually has to say, it makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? You mightn't agree with it, but that doesn't give you a right to, I think, publicly tear someone down because you don't agree with what they say. If you don't like what he has to say, just turn it off.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I don't watch the news. I don't like what they have to say. I don't watch this shit.
For sure.
I expose myself to it and just rant about it.
Yeah, I think the discussion around, like, again, this is the problem when you bring up people that like stir the pot so much, like a person like Andrew Tate, let's say. The thing is, it's less about who he is and what he says necessarily. It's, do we want to live in a world where somebody's expression of whatever they think, no matter how intolerant it is, so long as I can agree with, it's not a call to action to hurt anybody, whatever, but like they're just saying what they think and you don't like it. Is the right move to take someone's platform away, cancel them? Because who is to decide what is right and what is wrong? And I think people don't understand the danger that represents. Like, I would say it this way. You could say, you don't like what Andrew Tate says, it's whatever, it's wrong, right? Cool, whatever. Because it's like it's a social thing. It's a little bit like different. It's not an exact science, right? Whatever. Yeah. But we see it in fitness all the time. People echo all this fucking stupid sentiment that is wrong, but they're allowed to platform it because it's not contentious enough. You know what I mean? People say things that aren't like, wrong in the sense of my opinion versus theirs. They're just flat out wrong, but it's still platformed. Whereas you've got somebody, again, he just pisses people off because they don't like what he has to say. And that's fine. Like you said, they can just turn it off. Or my advice to anyone that genuinely thinks, it doesn't matter if it's you or me, if it's Andrew Tate, if it doesn't matter who it is. If you don't like what they have to say, you have two choices. One, you can turn it off. Or the other mature decision would be, rather than attacking the person and calling them names, bigot, homophobe, misogynist, whatever label you want to slap on somebody, maybe disassociate the person from their point and dismantle the point. Come at the point that they're making, and maybe you could learn something from it, and maybe you could teach them something from it. So, like, if you and I disagree with something, I'm not going to go, Ben, you're a fucking prick. I'm going to say, well, Ben, I disagree with you on this, and this is why. Let's have a chat about it, and let's see what we can work together. And I think that's the kind of issue with the Tate thing. Yeah. It incited so much rage. People kind of honestly have lost their common sense, I would say. So, yeah, bizarre. But look, at least now we know where you stand. I don't necessarily think everything he says is right or wrong. It doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. It matters is, should he have a platform to say it? I don't think, I think if you were to say, no, he shouldn't have a platform, you're essentially saying we could deplatform anyone that we disagree with, which is just a shit world to live in. Yeah. All right, so we're going to keep on that trend, right? We're going to try and get through a couple of these. We'll try and wrap it up soon enough. This is, I'm going to assume the last three questions have come from the same person. Again, this is anonymous. It's on that NGL app, so I don't know who's sending these in. Ben has said many times that he follows Jordan Peterson. I believe I've listened to his audiobooks. I went to see him in the Tree Arena when he was there.
I've missed that twice, man. Sorry. Yeah. I had tickets for both of them and it's killing me. Like,
in any case, but like, I mean, I think you and I can say we've both found value in a lot of the lessons Jordan Peterson says. And I know you've gotten questions about him before in your own story, but this is the actual question. Let me try and read this now. Is Ben also transphobic and a supporter of patriarchal tyranny? Ben.
How does that tie into Jordan?
I believe they're trying to say Jordan Peterson is a transphobe and he is a supporter of patriarchal tyranny. And
so straight away I know who I'm dealing with. I don't know who the person is who wrote this, but I know they're a fucking idiot, because it's the type of thing, if you actually look at any of Jordan Peterson's work, and no offense, offense, don't care. If you look at any of Jordan Peterson's work, you'll see that he's not transphobic if you actually listen to the man. It's again, if you're being told he's transphobic by the queen of the blue-haired folk, then obviously the queen has spoken to you and you're going to immediately, as I said with my sister, that same type of thing, that group think, that's the problem. So to actually help the person who asked that question, think for yourself. Okay, asking a question like that shows that you clearly don't. Because if you actually look at Jordan Peterson, I've read his book about 4 or 5 times. I don't know how many hours I've listened to that lad. There hasn't been one thing, because I'm not transphobic, and there's not one thing that I've seen that shows that he is. He just says things that he doesn't agree with imposed speech, basically, where it's kind of, you have to say something. And then when they legally put that in, like they did in Canada, that's where you start stepping into realms where people, I don't think they realize how fucked up that is. Because then it's like, it's illegally, you can or cannot say things, so Canada's a bit of a shit show with things at the moment, with like the whole trucker incident and all that stuff with COVID.
It's bizarre.
We realize how
situation,
nuts that shit is coming out the other end now, you know? They were fucking freezing their counts. I'm not getting into that realm, but I'm trying to say that's the closest thing that I've seen to like a modern day something happening, turning into a dictatorship, and people are worried about Jordan Peterson helping young men form better lives when we're in a world where being a young man is like, you're the demon. We're the bad guy now. Young man. I'm not talking about race or anything like that. It's tons of different races that have the same type of thing, but being a young man is bottom of the barrel now. You know what I mean? And I think he's the kind of person that speaks to that audience and can help steer people towards living a better quality of life. And if your whole thing is like, oh, what's the one bad thing he said, which there actually isn't one thing. And if it just to prove this wrong, if you can send me one bad thing, I think he's getting a little bit more aggressive with it now, being completely honest. He did say something about your one that was on Juno or something. What's that movie?
Ellen Page.
Yeah, she's like a dude
Ellen
now.
Page transitioned,
Yeah. So she, whatever the fuck, or he now, hold on,
this is the problem, right? So see, like you mentioned, the Juno actor, this is where this outrage culture can come in. I technically dead named this person just now. I don't, like, again, your instinct, your reaction is just to say the first things that come to mind that are association with that person, and then people can go mad at you for it. Like, but just as you say, so you're saying, like, in recent times maybe he's become a bit more contentious, a bit more cheeky. Maybe he's leaning harder on some of the probably the more conservative points. Especially now, I know he's part of a conservative group now. He's with the Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro,
even though he's left leaning himself.
Probably more. I think as people age, they become less liberal and more conservative.
You don't have to be one or the other.
And that's the thing, when you politicize everything, you're trying to like, I think you can like have like differing viewpoints on each individual point, or like you could be conservative on one topic and very liberal on the next. Like,
exactly.
I'd be incredibly like progressive and liberal when it comes to like, let's say like participation in sport. I do think we should try and find more platforms for like women's sport, for transgender people to participate in sport. I don't think it should come at the cost of other people's sport.
As you mean mixing them together?
If there is a safe way to do it that doesn't fuck up the sport. Do you know what I mean? Like this.
No, if there was, I agree with you. If there was, but there isn't.
So, but that's the thing. I don't think we should. I don't think it's about being on one side of the aisle or the other. I think it's just using your fucking head and saying like, okay, well, we need to look at a way that people can actively participate. You know. But this, I digress. I will just make one quick point just on this, and we're mentioned by Jordan Peterson, because here's the point, and this is the problem, right? Let's say this person genuinely just, obviously they don't like Jordan Peterson, fair enough, but it's the idea that you saying you like someone, or you found value in something that someone has said, or some of their teachings or their wisdom, that means you now agree with absolutely everything he said, blanket statement. I actively disagree with Jordan Peterson and what he has said about, he put out a post late last year about nutrition and tried to basically blame carbohydrates for like the obesity epidemic, which is just not correct. So again, I agree
with you on that. Yeah.
So as much as because again, carbohydrates can be part of a health promoting diet, you know. So as much as I appreciate a lot of his philosophical stuff, psychological stuff, nutrition, and probably stay in your own wheelhouse. Fair enough. Something worked for him. Great. He's healthier than he ever has been. Brilliant. Phenomenal. I'm grateful for that. But probably don't use survivor bias then, because you got it. Do you have anything else to say on being accused of being a transphobic and a supporter of patriarchal theory?
I think the whole transphobic thing kind of kicked up that Juno actor, I can't never remember the name. Ellen Page, yeah. The problem with that is that if you're leading from the front and you're again having loads of young people watching you are confused, and they get this operation that they can't reverse, and the suicide rate is gigantic after doing that. And this is a spokesperson being like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever." That's where I don't think you should glamorize it, like any surgery. Like if you talk about plastic surgery, it's not I know a lot of people get it, but I'm trying to say to you that it's a lot of people think it's wrong to glamorize that. Be like, oh, everyone should get this, you know what I mean? Or be this certain way, or be accepting of it. It's only kind of like hidden, and you kind of do it behind the scenes. Whereas I think transgenders do the same type of thing, where not that you're hiding it. Don't interpret it like that. But I'm saying that it shouldn't be glamorized, because young people that are confused will pick up that information and then immediately go, oh, that's the thing that'll solve my problem. Then they get this irreversible surgery or hormone protocol where they're like, fuck, I was just a young, confused kid going through puberty, and I should not have got this done. Because the reason why I'm saying this, I'm not trans, I have no experience in that realm. I'm just regurgitating all the amount of people that have come out the other end of having something like that done and having regretted doing it. You know what I mean? Not regretted being trans, but having gotten the surgery done, or an irreversible thing based on a spokesperson saying to do the thing. That's where it can be a bit of a problem.
It's tricky, and do you know what it is? I think, like, again, it's still relatively new. We're still trying to learn to navigate it as a society anyway. But I think the reason we're seeing like this kind of like, you know, this what's the word? Like this trouble in this area, or like this contentiousness and this validity is not necessarily because people want to transition or anything. Again, I am not educated enough to comment on this, but it's because I think it's been made political. It's been weaponized as a political tool in the States, and the States is the leader of the West. So everything that happens in America tends to roll back 2 years everywhere else. So it's becoming more apparent here when it was much bigger there, let's say a couple of years ago. But it's the moment you start politicizing why people do the things they want to do, and there's emotion tied in there as well. You've got this powder keg of like a social narrative that's just always going to cause fights. And I don't think, for example, Jordan Peterson speaking out about the bill in Canada, Bill C-16, back in 2016 or 17 or whenever it was, I don't think him speaking out against that of compelled speech was necessarily a attack on transgender community necessarily, though I'm sure they can construe it a certain way. I don't think you or I following someone's content means we agree with absolutely everything they have to say.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, we're just looking for, we've taken value from one aspect of it, you know? So I think that's fair. We'll add a little bit more levity now to the questions and we'll try to wrap her up. Would you like to have more babies?
Yeah. Whatever Bonnie can handle, really.
Good man.
I'd say like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Good range there. Yeah.
Hope Bonnie's listening to this now. She'll be making your clips after she goes, fucks.
As she's in the same camp, she's looking at like 4 or something.
Great.
So yeah, just wherever we land. So minimum 3 up to 5. That's kind of where we want to go. Yeah. I do want a big family though.
Yeah, it's great but it's also that is a choice. It's a position you're in that you could potentially do it. You know what I mean? I think that's brilliant.
Well, I think you should create the position as well.
Yes,
that's another big
absolutely.
thing. You know?
And you're doing that and have done that.
And I think actually, which is a bit of I don't know what the word I'm looking for. If you accidentally find yourself in a position where it has happened to you and you feel like you're not ready to do it yet, you can actually get your shit together a hell of a lot fucking faster by becoming more responsible because you have a life coming into the world. Yep. So I think it actually can be a great thing. I'm not saying to go out and just start banging girls and get everyone pregnant. Like, I'm going to make loads of money. That's not what I'm saying.
Craughwell told me to do it.
Yeah. I have no choice. No, I'm saying that if it does happen to you, okay, don't immediately look to, this is the worst thing ever. Go, okay, I'm in this situation. Let's assess what's going on here. Let's get my shit together. And then you put the foot down in the gas. 5 years go by, you could build a business, you get a phenomenal job, all these things, because you had that lighter under your ass, that fire under your ass.
You had to move.
Exactly. So I think that, it's the best responsibility you could ever take on, is the most fulfilling thing ever. Anytime I'm in a bad mood or whatever it is, if I just reflect on having a child, and I know people, it's like, you have a kid, shut the fuck up. Like, I know people are like that because I used to be hearing people that. I was like, it's the best thing ever. It is. Because I know in powerlifting, so I'll be done powerlifting, I'll be done working, I'll be done with clients. Family's the thing there when you're at deathbed, being like, fuck it, we're still here, bro. You know, we're still connecting. You know,
you'll always be a dad now.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you know, so it's. I think it's the best thing ever, hands down. I think more people. I'd love to. Not that I think more people should. I'm not deciding for them. I'd love to see more people wanting to have a good, like, traditional household, family, all that kind of stuff. Not religion, not politics, not bullshit. Just mom, dad, not a broken fucking house, all that kind of shit. You know.
Do you know what, man? I fear for the young lad that tries to date your daughter. And he comes home and he's seeing you. It's like, fuck.
My sister has that problem too. She's like, anytime they know my brother, it's like this thing's like roided meathead. And it's like, I'm like, calm as shit, man.
What's your deadlift?
Yeah.
How much you bench?
You're coming in here, boy.
All right. So the next couple, like, we've only got 2 more and they're really, really light. So we'll fly through these. So natty or not, The Rock?
No.
Yeah, I think that if you have to ask that question, you fucking need to get your eyes checked.
If they look like they're on steroids, they're on steroids. It's just as simple as. Now, don't get me wrong. Like yourself, you are a big muscular guy. You know what I mean? And if I didn't know you powerlifted and took training as serious as you do, I'd be like, he's full of shit, he's taking gear. Like, honestly, and Kean Madden, Mark Stell, these guys, like, when I first met Kean, I was like, he's fucking full of shit. Like, and then you're around it, and it's you can do a lot as a natural man. You can get fucking jacked and look phenomenal. You know what I mean? Just, it needs to be a priority.
Yeah, man. Like, I think it is, like, I'll say, just to speak to that, like, I mean, I'm in my fucking mid-30s. Like, I'm an old fuck. Like, I've been training for a long time. So it's not like, you know, I've been training for powerlifting for 3 years and just made monstrous gains. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, when I started powerlifting, I took a lot of other things a lot more seriously. And I cannot overstate the value of having an environment like Abs Powerlifting. I'm sure you've mentioned it last time you're on. It's probably one of the aspects you miss is the crew. Yeah. You know, like, as much as, like, obviously other things have taken priority, like, you know, having a crew of people around you really pushes you to, you know, push numbers, quality sleep, quality food, making sure you're showing up for every session. Like, no, like, let's be honest, right? How many times did you want to show up to train at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Not that many, but you get in and you get in the buzz, there's music playing, the boys are loading up the weights, you're just ready to go, like, you know? So yeah, it's I think you're right. People do completely undersell what you can achieve naturally, like, you know. So besides, if this is all I could achieve on gear, I'd fucking kill myself. So. But thank you very much. I feel that's my ego pump for today. All right, this is the last one. It's not even a question, but we'll leave it out. We'll put it in. It's not a question, just a shout out to Ian and Ben for the content. It is helping me get my life sorted out. So sound for that. Whoever sent that in, that is a nice message to get. Like I'd say some of the most productive messages I've gotten back about the podcast have been yourself and Jake for sure, and Tristan Jacobs, physical therapist we had on as well. A lot of people replied to that one, but particularly yourselves and Jake's. People generally, like, when they talk about Jake, they're like, I didn't realize Jake, you know, he was this big of a softie, had this much of a background. I think it added a bit of like, he's not just this big giant asshole. You know
human.
I mean? He's a dude, he's a guy behind it all, you know. But I think every time you and I have been on, and the conversations we've had, it's the most people have gone, God damn, I enjoyed that. Like, that was a good. I'm fired up now. I'm motivated. I want to go get it. And I think it's a good like starting point for people, even if it's just that one little extra jump in their step. If you and me sitting here talking shit every now and again is going to do it, I'm just going to keep it going.
100%, man.
I think that's a fucking good place to wrap her up.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Ben, it's been real having you on again.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It won't be the last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? Next time I'll try to Q&A up a little earlier, and we'll hopefully get more divisive. Andrew Tate, David Goggins, Jordan Peterson. Throw a few more names out there next time, gang. Let's challenge Ben. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.